But just as we once made a dramatic shift from making looms to making automobiles, today we are planning a new chapter for Toyota.
The world of international business and global trade was rocked by a recent announcement that sent shockwaves through economic, automotive, and political spheres alike. Akio Toyoda, the renowned CEO of Toyota Motor Corporation, has officially confirmed that Toyota will cease selling its vehicles in the United States. This announcement came on the heels of a momentous shift in U.S. policy, as newly elected President Donald Trump unveiled sweeping new tariffs on America's trade partners. The move instantly made it financially unviable for companies like Toyota to continue offering their products in the lucrative U.S. market. This abrupt withdrawal marks a historic moment, not just for Toyota, but for the entire automotive industry and the broader dynamics of global trade. Before we start, hit the like and subscribe buttons for more updates. The relationship between Toyota and the U.S. has been deeply intertwined for decades. Toyota's journey in America has been nothing short of transformative, fundamentally altering how Americans view, purchase, and drive cars. The company's reliable, fuel-efficient, and innovative vehicles have long been among the top choices for American consumers. Toyota's manufacturing plants in the United States employed tens of thousands of American workers, further strengthening the economic ties between the two countries. The company's investments in U.S. communities, sponsorships, and charitable efforts created a sense of partnership that transcended mere commerce. So, for Toyota to abruptly halt sales in the country represents not just a corporate decision, but a dramatic shift in the narrative of globalization and economic cooperation. The immediate cause of this seismic event lies in the sweeping tariffs announced by President Trump. As part of a new era of protectionist trade policies, the U.S. government imposed significant duties on imported goods, targeting key industries such as automobiles. The intent was clear: to bolster American manufacturing, create more jobs at home, and reduce dependency on foreign goods. However, the scale and suddenness of the tariffs caught many by surprise. For companies like Toyota, whose supply chains stretch across continents and whose production models rely on complex global logistics, the new tariffs upended years of careful planning. Costs for importing parts and finished vehicles skyrocketed overnight. The business model that had allowed Toyota to thrive in the U.S. market became unsustainable almost immediately. Akio Toyoda's decision to withdraw from the U.S. market was not made lightly. As a visionary leader who has guided the company through both triumphs and crises, Toyota's approach is typically one of patience, resilience, and a deep commitment to quality. In this case, however, the company faced a stark reality. The new tariffs rendered Toyota's vehicles prohibitively expensive for American consumers. Every car shipped to the United States would be burdened with additional costs that could not be absorbed or offset by production efficiencies alone. The result would be a dramatic increase in sticker prices, eroding Toyota's hard-won reputation for value and reliability. Competing with domestic manufacturers under these conditions became impossible. The implications of this withdrawal extend far beyond Toyota itself. The automotive industry in the United States has long been a melting pot of global brands, technologies, and expertise. Toyota's presence has set standards for quality, safety, and environmental responsibility that have raised the bar for the entire sector. The company's hybrid technology, exemplified by the Prius, paved the way for greener vehicles and inspired competitors to innovate. With Toyota now out of the picture, there is a gaping hole in the American auto landscape. Consumers lose access to some of the most beloved and dependable vehicles. From the family-friendly Camry and Ray V4 to the rugged Tacoma and Tundra pickups. This development also reverberates through the countless local economies that have depended on Toyota's investments. Towns and cities that host Toyota's factories, dealerships, and parts suppliers suddenly face an uncertain future. Jobs that once seemed secure now hang in the balance. The knock-on effects ripple through supporting industries, from logistics and shipping to marketing and finance. Dealers who have built their livelihoods around the Toyota brand must now pivot, searching for alternatives in a fiercely competitive market. The loss of Toyota, a brand synonymous with trust and reliability, is a psychological blow to many communities that had come to see the company as a neighbor, not just an employer. The broader economic implications are equally profound. For decades, global trade has operated on the premise that goods and services should flow freely across borders, maximizing efficiency and choice for consumers. The sudden imposition of tariffs disrupts these established patterns. Companies that have built their business models around global supply chains must now grapple with uncertainty and recalibrate their strategies. The message sent by the Trump administration's tariff policy is clear. The era of unfettered globalization is over. Protectionism, once a fringe idea, has now moved to the center of U.S. economic policy. The effects will be felt not just in the automotive industry, but across the entire spectrum of international trade. The strategic calculus behind Toyota's decision to exit the U.S. market is complex. On one hand, the company must protect its financial health. Absorbing the costs of the new tariffs would result in unacceptable losses. Passing those costs on to consumers would destroy the brand's competitiveness. On the other hand, maintaining a presence in the U.S. market is a point of pride and a cornerstone of Toyota's global identity. The company has long prided itself on building bridges between cultures and markets, offering products that meet the needs of people everywhere. Leaving the U.S. is not just a business move. It is a symbolic retreat from a market that has been central to Toyota's story. The decision also raises questions about the future of international investment. For decades, the United States has positioned itself as a welcoming destination for foreign capital and expertise. Companies like Toyota, Honda, BMW, and Volkswagen have invested billions in American factories, creating high-quality jobs and contributing to local economies. The new tariffs call this approach into question. If foreign companies cannot compete on a level playing field, will they continue to invest in the United States? Will other countries retaliate with tariffs of their own, leading to a spiral of protectionism and economic fragmentation? The answers to these questions will shape the contours of the global economy for years to come. Consumers, for their part, are left to navigate a rapidly changing marketplace. The disappearance of Toyota vehicles from American dealerships means that millions of loyal customers must look elsewhere for their next car. For many, Toyota's reputation for reliability, fuel efficiency, and low cost of ownership made it the default choice. The loss of that option will force consumers to reconsider their priorities and adjust to new realities. Domestic manufacturers may benefit in the short term, as competition from one of their most formidable rivals vanishes overnight. However, the loss of competition could ultimately lead to higher prices, less innovation, and fewer choices for American drivers. The cultural impact of Toyota's withdrawal cannot be overstated. The brand's influence extends far beyond sales figures and market share. Toyota has become a fixture in American life, shaping everything from road trips and commutes to pop culture references and family traditions. The Corolla, Camry, and RAV4 are household names, their dependability woven into the fabric of daily routines. The loss of Toyota is, in a sense, the loss of a familiar companion, one that has shared the road with generations of Americans. The emotional resonance of this departure will be felt in subtle but powerful ways as drivers adjust to a new automotive landscape. For Toyota, the challenge now is to chart a new course in a rapidly changing world. The company must reassess its global strategy, seeking new markets and opportunities while maintaining its commitment to quality and innovation. The withdrawal from the U.S. market is a setback, but not an end. Toyota remains a global powerhouse with strong positions in Asia, Europe, and other regions. The company's leadership will need to draw on its history of resilience and adaptability as it navigates this period of upheaval. The lessons learned from this experience will shape Toyota's approach to future challenges and opportunities. At the same time, the American automotive industry must grapple with the consequences of a shrinking competitive field. Domestic manufacturers may enjoy a temporary reprieve from foreign competition, but the long-term health of the industry depends on vibrant competition and the constant drive to improve. Without the challenge posed by Toyota and other foreign brands, there is a risk that innovation will stagnate and consumers will pay the price. The task for American automakers is to seize this moment as an opportunity to invest in new technologies, improve quality, and earn the loyalty of former Toyota customers. The political dimension of this development is equally significant. President Trump's tariff policy marks a dramatic shift from decades of bipartisan support for free trade. The message to America's trading partners is unmistakable. The U.S. is prepared to put domestic interests first, even at the cost of long-standing economic relationships. The consequences of this approach will unfold over time as other countries weigh their responses and the global balance of economic power shifts. The withdrawal of Toyota is both a symptom and a symbol of this new era, a sign that the world's economic order is undergoing a profound transformation. Internationally, the decision reverberates through the corridors of power in capitals from Tokyo to Brussels to Beijing. Allies and rivals alike must now rethink their approach to trade with the United States. The departure of a global giant like Toyota sends a clear signal that the costs of doing business in America have risen dramatically. For some countries, this may prompt efforts to renegotiate trade agreements, seeking more favorable terms or exemptions from tariffs. For others, it may accelerate the shift toward regional trade blocs and alternative markets. The rules of the game are changing, and companies and countries alike must adapt or risk being left behind. Toyota's experience also offers a cautionary tale for other multinational corporations. The era of globalization, once taken for granted, is now under threat from rising protectionism and economic nationalism. Companies that once benefited from open markets and integrated supply chains must now build resilience against sudden policy shifts and geopolitical risk. Flexibility, diversification, and local adaptation become more important than ever. Toyota's decision to withdraw from the U.S. is a dramatic illustration of the stakes involved, and a wake-up call for executives and policymakers worldwide. The human element of this story should not be overlooked. For the employees who have built their careers with Toyota, the announcement brings anxiety and uncertainty. Workers on the assembly line, managers in the office, salespeople in the dealerships all face an uncertain future. The loss of jobs and community investment will be deeply felt in towns and cities across the country. For many, Toyota was more than just a paycheck. It was a source of pride and identity. The company's emphasis on teamwork, quality, and continuous improvement shaped not just products, but people. The challenge now is to support these workers as they navigate the transition, helping them find new opportunities and rebuild their lives. On the corporate side, Toyota faces the daunting task of managing the fallout from this decision. The company's reputation for integrity and social responsibility is on the line. How Toyota communicates with its employees, dealers, and customers will shape its legacy in America. Transparency, empathy, and a commitment to supporting affected communities will be essential. At the same time, Toyota must reassure investors, partners, and customers in other markets that it remains a strong and viable company, capable of weathering storms and seizing new opportunities. The reverberations from Toyota's sudden exit from the U.S. market, prompted by unprecedented tariffs, continued to ripple through every facet of society, business, and geopolitics, triggering a cascade of new realities and shifting paradigms. As days passed after Akio Toyota's revelation, the magnitude of the event only deepened, exposing complex layers of impact beyond initial economic calculations. The U.S. automotive landscape, once a vibrant tapestry interwoven with international brands and fierce competition, now faced a fundamental transformation that went beyond the balance sheets and supply chain logistics. The immediate aftermath in American car dealerships was striking, where once Toyota vehicles filled showrooms and lots, gleaming examples of Japanese engineering and global collaboration, there now stood an unmistakable void. Dealers who had depended on Toyota's consistent sales performance found themselves confronting both practical and existential dilemmas. Their inventory suddenly obsolete, they scrambled to forge new alliances with other automakers, hoping to salvage their businesses. The brand loyalty Toyota inspired over generations made this transition especially jarring. Sales staff who once confidently recommended a Camry or a Tacoma now faced uncomfortable conversations with longtime customers seeking replacements for a model they had expected to purchase for decades to come. In urban centers and rural towns alike, this absence created ripple effects far beyond car lots. Auto parts suppliers, many of whom had structured their businesses around Toyota's steady demand, found their forecasts upended overnight. Regional economies that had benefited from Toyota's extensive procurement networks braced for contraction. Small businesses, from those offering detailing and repair services to local advertising agencies, witnessed a drop in activity. Toyota's reach had always been understated but pervasive, and now its departure revealed the intricate dependencies and invisible threads woven into the American economic fabric. Beyond these immediate commercial consequences, the workforce bore the brunt of the disruption. For tens of thousands of employees at Toyota's American factories, the announcement upended futures that had once seemed secure. Toyota's manufacturing philosophy, rooted in Kaizen, continuous improvement, had cultivated a culture of loyalty and pride among its workforce. The company's factories were often cited as models of efficiency, safety, and community engagement. Now, employees found themselves navigating a rapidly shifting job market, with some seeking to transfer their specialized skills to other industries or retrain for new roles. The closure of Toyota plants didn't just represent job loss. It signified a loss of identity for many workers and a diminishing of the civic and charitable presence the company had fostered in their communities. As Toyota's operations wound down, questions emerged about what would become of its sprawling production facilities. The sheer scale of these sites, each a hub of advanced manufacturing and logistical prowess, posed a challenge for local governments and economic planners. Some regions eyed the possibility of attracting new tenants, perhaps electric vehicle startups, battery manufacturers, or even American automakers seeking to expand capacity. Others worried that these sprawling factories, once bustling with activity, would become silent monuments to a bygone era, contributing to the phenomenon of deindustrialization that had affected other regions in previous decades. For consumers, the withdrawal required both practical adaptation and emotional adjustment. Toyota's product lineup, celebrated for its reliability and low cost of ownership, had anchored countless households' budgets and mobility needs. Drivers who relied on Toyota hybrids for their daily commutes, or counted on the ruggedness of a forerunner for family adventures, suddenly had to rethink their choices. Some gravitated toward remaining foreign brands, while others gave American automakers a second look. The used car market, meanwhile, experienced a surge in demand for Toyotas, as drivers sought to hold on to a brand they trusted, further driving up resale values. For many, the loss of Toyota was a personal inconvenience, but for others, it carried a sense of dislocation, proof that even the most stable-seeming facets of modern life could be subject to sudden change. On a broader economic level, the departure of Toyota triggered recalibrations throughout the auto industry. Competitors, both domestic and foreign, saw opportunities and challenges in equal measure. American manufacturers such as Ford and General Motors ramped up production and marketing efforts aiming to capture Toyota's loyal customer base. Yet they also faced renewed scrutiny over whether they could match the quality, longevity, and innovation that had defined Toyota's reputation. International rivals, especially those from South Korea and Germany, debated whether to double down on the American market or tread carefully in light of the new tariffs. For every automaker, the recalculation of market strategies, investment plans, and supply chain configurations became a matter of urgency. Global supply chains, long celebrated for their efficiency and resilience, faced a dramatic test. Toyota had pioneered the just-in-time manufacturing model, ensuring that parts and components arrived precisely when needed and minimizing inventory costs. With the new tariffs dramatically increasing costs for cross-border shipments, the entire logic of this model came under scrutiny. Suppliers and logistics providers scrambled to reconfigure their networks, seeking ways to regionalize production or find local alternatives to imported parts. In some cases, this led to increased costs and delays, as new relationships had to be built and new processes put in place. The lesson was clear. In a world where government policies could change overnight, supply chains needed to be more flexible and less dependent on a single country or region. The investment community also reacted to Toyota's move with intense interest. Shareholders and analysts pored over financial statements, seeking to quantify the short and long-term implications for both Toyota and its competitors. The departure was seen as a warning sign, proof that political risk now played a larger role in business calculations than ever before. Some investors welcomed the possibility that American automakers would benefit from reduced foreign competition, but others worried about the potential for retaliation from affected countries and the broader risks of a trade war. stock prices fluctuated as markets processed the new reality, reflecting the deep uncertainty that had settled over one of the world's most important industries. Internationally, the reverberations were just as significant. In Japan, the headquarters of Toyota, the announcement landed as both a corporate crisis and a matter of national pride. Toyota had long been a symbol of Japanese ingenuity and global reach, and its success in the American market was a point of pride not just for the company, but for the country as a whole. The withdrawal prompted soul-searching among Japanese policymakers, economists, and business leaders. Debates erupted over how Japan should respond to the protectionist turn in American policy. Whether to seek new trade agreements, double down on other international markets, or encourage greater self-sufficiency. The sense of vulnerability was palpable, reminding many that even the most successful companies could be humbled by shifts in global power dynamics. In other countries, Toyota's exit served as a case study in the risks of globalization and the growing trend toward economic nationalism. European and Asian automakers carefully analyzed their own exposure to the U.S. market, weighing the possibility of similar fates. Some governments accelerated negotiations for regional trade pacts aiming to insulate their economies from U.S. tariffs and ensure continued access to important markets. Others explored subsidies and incentives to attract companies dislocated by American policy, seeking to position themselves as alternative hubs for investment and growth. The end result was a growing sense of fragmentation, a move away from the vision of a seamlessly interconnected global economy and toward a world of competing blocs and shifting alliances. The implications for environmental policy and innovation were also profound. Toyota's leadership in hybrid technology and fuel efficiency had pushed the entire auto industry toward greener solutions. The Prius, once a niche product, became an icon of environmental consciousness and spurred competitors to invest in their own electrified offerings. With Toyota gone from the U.S. market, questions arose about the pace and direction of automotive innovation in America. Would domestic manufacturers continue to prioritize sustainability, or would the absence of a major green competitor slow progress? Environmental advocates worried that the tariffs, by privileging certain types of vehicles or manufacturers, could undermine national and global efforts to reduce emissions and combat climate change. Amid the uncertainty, political debate intensified. Proponents of the tariffs argued that Toyota's withdrawal would create opportunities for American workers and companies, fulfilling the promise of bringing manufacturing jobs back home. They pointed to early signs of increased investment by domestic automakers and the possibility of new entrants filling the void. Critics, however, warned that the loss of competition would ultimately harm consumers, drive up prices, and limit choice. They noted that Toyota had employed thousands of Americans and supported a vast ecosystem of suppliers and service providers. The broader question of how to balance economic nationalism with the benefits of free trade became a flashpoint in policy circles, think tanks, and public discourse. For Akio Toyoda himself, the decision marked a pivotal moment in his storied career. As a leader, Toyota had weathered crises ranging from global recessions to recalls, always striving to uphold the company's values and adapt to changing circumstances. The decision to leave the U.S. was undoubtedly one of the most difficult he had faced, an admission that, despite Toyota's strengths, external forces could not always be overcome by ingenuity or perseverance alone. Within the company, the decision triggered a period of reflection, with executives, engineers, and workers alike grappling with what it meant for Toyota's identity as a truly global company. The resolve to continue innovating and serving customers around the world remained strong, but the sense of loss was tangible. Meanwhile, American consumers, once accustomed to a dizzying array of choices, faced a period of adjustment. The withdrawal of Toyota was a stark reminder of the interconnectedness of the modern economy and the ways in which government policy could shape everyday life. For many, it prompted broader questions about the direction of the country, about what it meant to prioritize domestic interests, about the role of foreign investment, and about the trade-offs inherent in economic policy. While some welcomed the changes as a necessary course correction, others mourned the loss of global openness and worried about what other cherished brands or products might disappear in the years to come. Educational institutions, too, found themselves drawn into the conversation. Business schools and economics departments incorporated the Toyota case into their curricula, using it to explore the complexities of international trade, risk management, and corporate strategy. Professors and students debated what lessons could be drawn, not only about the limits of globalization, but about the importance of adaptability, resilience, and foresight. The event became a touchstone for discussions about the future of work, the role of technology, and the need for new approaches to economic policy in a rapidly changing world. The American political landscape, already polarized, saw new lines of debate emerge in the wake of Toyota's departure. Elected officials from regions affected by factory closures pressed for federal assistance and job retraining programs, arguing that their communities deserve support after years of contributing to the nation's industrial success. Advocates of free trade pointed to the broader consequences for the U.S. economy, arguing that tariffs risked provoking retaliatory measures from other countries and undermining America's position as a global leader. Protectionists, meanwhile, doubled down on their arguments, insisting that tough measures were necessary to restore American manufacturing and assert national sovereignty. Internationally, Toyota's withdrawal played into ongoing debates about the future of globalization. The rise of protectionist policies, trade disputes, and shifting alliances forced countries and companies alike to rethink long-held assumptions. For some, the era of seamless global integration appeared to be giving way to a new age of strategic competition, one in which national interests, security concerns, and resilience were increasingly prioritized. For others, the lesson was the need to double down on regional integration, creating new networks of cooperation that could buffer against the shocks of global politics. The question of how best to balance openness with security became one of the defining challenges of the era. For Toyota's engineers, designers, and researchers, the exit from the U.S. market forced a shift in focus. Freed from the specific demands and regulatory requirements of the American market, they turned their attention to innovation and growth in other regions. Emerging markets in Asia, Africa, and Latin America became new frontiers, offering both opportunities and challenges. The company accelerated investments in electric vehicles, autonomous driving technology, and mobility services, seeking to stay ahead of the curve and maintain its reputation as an industry leader. While the loss of the American market was significant, it also freed up resources to pursue new strategies and respond to the unique needs of diverse customers around the world. The global auto industry, for its part, entered a period of recalibration and soul-searching. The Toyota episode served as a stark reminder that even the most successful companies were not immune to geopolitical risk. Strategic planning took on a new urgency, with executives considering how to build more flexible, regionally resilient supply chains and how to hedge against political shocks. The importance of strong relationships with governments, regulators, and local communities became clearer than ever. At the same time, the imperative to innovate, to anticipate changes in technology, consumer preferences, and regulatory environments became ever more pressing. On the cultural front, Toyota's legacy in the U.S. lingered in subtle ways. The sight of older Toyota models on the road, the continued popularity of used Toyotas, and the persistence of Toyota clubs and enthusiast groups served as reminders of a brand that had once been deeply embedded in American life. The lessons of Toyota's success, its focus on quality, reliability, and customer satisfaction, continued to influence competitors and shape consumer expectations. In time, perhaps, new brands would rise to fill the void, but the imprint left by Toyota would not fade easily. The implications for America's place in the world economy also continued to unfold. For decades, the U.S. had been seen as the ultimate market for ambitious global companies. A place where innovation, scale, and consumer appetite created unique opportunities. Toyota's departure signaled a shift in that narrative, suggesting that access to the American market could no longer be taken for granted. Other foreign investors took note, reassessing their own strategies and weighing the risks of sudden policy changes. The long-term effects on America's competitiveness, attractiveness to investment, and role as a global economic leader became topics of debate among policymakers, business leaders, and scholars. In the end, the Toyota story became more than just a corporate saga. It was a lens through which to view the broader currents reshaping the world. It highlighted the fragility of even the most robust global connections, the power of political decisions to reshape entire industries, and the need for adaptability in an era of uncertainty. It reminded everyone that economic progress, technological innovation, and cross-border cooperation were not inevitable, but had to be continually renewed, defended, and reimagined. As Toyota moved forward, the company faced the challenge of staying true to its core values while navigating a rapidly changing world. The resilience, ingenuity, and commitment that had defined its success would be tested as never before. For the United States, the loss of Toyota was a call to reflect on the choices that shaped its economy, society, and role in the world. Whether the lessons of this moment would lead to renewed openness, greater self-sufficiency, or something entirely new remained an open question, one that would be answered in the years and decades to come by the decisions of leaders, workers, and citizens across the globe. If you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Also, could you leave your comments below and tell us, what are your thoughts on Toyota leaving the US market? We want to hear from you. Thank you for watching and see you next time.